So I got sick and tired of carrying all my supplies up and down this hill. So I ended up putting in an aerial tram here. And that allows me to pull up material from the truck or send ore down to the truck without having to hike it up and down this hill. And right now we're bringing up these wooden rails. And we're gonna put a little wooden rail system in down to the spot we're working. And then be able to pull up our buckets on this wooden rail system and send them right down to the truck. We just got two 2x4s with some 2x4 cross pieces, and I'm going to make a little cart. It's just going to run right on those rails, and with a rope I'll be able to pull up the buckets all the way up there. I don't know if you can see the light coming out of the portal, but there's portals right up there. But here's from the top looking down our little rail system here. And it goes down to the bottom. And we can do it all in one straight shot, so there won't be any curves or nothing. Here's where we're at, and there's where we're going, right up there to the light. So I don't know, what is that, another 50 feet maybe? We'll get here, take a look back. We're kind of, each one's a unique piece here. But it's sure going to beat packing those buckets up out of there. All right, we're getting close. We're up here towards the daylight, maybe two more, and then we'll be up here to where we can start sending buckets down to the truck. Been working on it for about 2 hours, guys. Got all 15 done in 2 hours. All right, guys, just finishing up our rail here. We got her up there to the portal where we can unload. And here it comes down right past our feet. We spanned our little gap there, and then it dives over the hill down to that rail. All right, so we got our wooden rail system in, and we're down here in this ridge zone of the vein. And right now I'm working along the ground here. I'm just hand mucking some stuff. We're putting it into buckets here. And once we get about 10 buckets, we'll slide them down the rail on a little sled that I made, shoot them up the wooden rail out to the portal, and then we'll send them down to the truck on our aerial tram system. So all this stuff here on the ground is all loose, and a lot of it, here's a good piece, it's still real good quartz ore with a lot of sulfides in there, and so that's the good stuff. So we're just hand mucking this out, and I'm hoping to get about a ton to a ton and a half today, and then we'll take it down and we'll crush it down in our demo system down below with our 1 ton per hour turnkey system. Ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. There we go. But now we got over here, this is just a little box I made with the same idea. It's got a 2x4 down the middle to ride in this groove in the rail. And then this black Teflon for sliders.
There it goes. Hopefully the bucket doesn't dump out.
All right, so we got it pulled up here. There's a couple little spots where it sticks, so we're gonna have to do a little maintenance on our rail. But I brought one bucket up, so I'm gonna hook it on the hook now. I'll pull this back down, we'll put another bucket in, and then as that one bucket goes down to the truck, it'll help pull this one up the rail. Alright, so we improved our system. We got a little tower to get our cable up a little higher. Now I can just send this bucket down to the truck nice and easy. There we go. It worked out pretty well. All right, we've got our bags down now, and we're back at the shop. I've actually got 2 bags. I figure we got about 1,500 pounds, maybe 2,000 pounds altogether. And you can see here, it's mostly quartz. We didn't get very much wall rock, which is good because you don't want to dilute your stuff. But I broke up a couple pieces here, and see if we can get this to focus. You can see a lot of this stuff has quite a bit of sulfides here, big blobs of sulfides, so lots of metal, lots of mineralization. Here's our 16 by 12 Hammermill that'll do around 1 ton per hour of ore. And let me get up here so we can take a look. But I got to change the hammers, and so I got to take these bolts off here all the way around this flange on both sides, and then the whole top half of the Hammermill is going to come off. But we've added, probably since I did a video on our hammer mills, we've added some water injectors in the sides here, one here and one on the other side there. And we've added to the side plates that hold the hammer pins in. You'll see a lot better when I open the lid. We've added spokes that come out like this that act like a fan. And so as we inject water in here, it sprays water up all around the edge of the hammer mill and keeps the material pushed towards the middle of the hammer mill. So you have less wear on the hammers on the outside edge, really evens out the wear, injects more water, and you can actually process quite a bit more. And it crushes, and there's a screen that runs on the bottom here, and it runs down here onto the shaker table. Okay, we got all our hammers changed, and as you can see, they come very, very close to the screen now. The last ones were down in here somewhere. But 2 things I forgot to mention is because there was so much material built up down in the mill on the screen, I had to pull all that stuff out because the hammers are so much longer that you can't get it started unless you get all that junk out of there. And so here I just put it down on the shaker table tray. It's probably 3 or 4 gallons worth of stuff there. And you really, really want to make sure that when you pull that stuff out, you pan it or you run it on a sluice or a shaker table or whatever, because if there's any gold that won't fit through the screen, it's going to be down here in this stuff. And so you don't want to be throwing out any of your big gold. So always run that through a concentrator of some kind. And then we also have a rubber gasket here that goes around where the 2 flanges meet, so that the water doesn't leak out and seep out between the 2 flanges. This rubber clamps down and makes a seal. And then the side plates suck the air in through where the, see if I can get this on video, in through where the shaft goes through the case here, sucks in air, draws the air and the water up the side plate and into the case of the mill, into the head when it's running. But yeah, so we got everything changed. Let me put the top back on, and then we'll get running our sample. All right, guys, here's our second bag. I'm going to take both the bags, and we're going to run them through our 1 ton per hour turnkey system here. It starts with the jaw crusher module. We're going to put both bags into that hopper. The hopper vibrates down through our 8 by 12 inch jaw crusher, comes out this conveyor belt here into this fine ore feeder. There's a little magnetic feeder on the bottom here that vibrates and evenly feeds the material out onto this conveyor belt. Goes up into our hammer mill, crushes it down to 0.8 millimeter minus and down onto our shaker table. The high grade number 1 and the high grade number 2 come down into these 2 little buckets here. The number 3 middlings comes down into this white bucket, and the number 4 tailings goes in here where the larger material that's about 200 to 300 mesh and larger settles out and gets augered up this screw into that bin back there. And then only the very fine stuff, the 200 and 300 mesh minus, and all the water get recirculated down through this holding basin here. And one more thing I wanted to mention here, a lot of people ask us, we manufacture all this equipment and sell it. So if you're looking to get into the gold processing or gold mining industry, let us know, and you can visit our website at mbmmllc.com, and you can find our contact information there. Give us a call, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have. So we'll get the system going, and we'll watch hopefully quite a bit of gold come across that table. Okay, here's our number 1 off the shaker table, and this is our number 2 high grade. The number 1 has hardly anything in there. It wouldn't take hardly anything to pan that out. The number 2 has a little bit more. But what I've done in the past is I've panned out the gold and I've wrung it out in a blue rag and then Cupelled it directly. And this time I'm going to probably just put the number 1 in a pan, and then I'll pan down the number 2 some. And we'll get a couple, 300 or 400 grams of the concentrates. Once I pan the number 2 down, I'll pan off a bunch of the junk. And then I can smelt those. I'll mix them together and then just do one big smelt, and we'll get all the gold. And then our little button at the bottom of the smelt, we can Cupel and recover our precious metals. All right, so I've panned it down. That's what I'm going to leave there. I don't know how much it weighs yet. But now I'm going to transfer it into a stainless steel container, and we'll dry it out over our furnace, get it all dried, and then we'll mix up some flux and smelt it down. All right, we've got our stuff all dried out. I'm going to take just a simple cow magnet in a bag, and I'm going to run it over and see without picking up any iron or steel, and just get that out of there. It really just gets in the way of everything when you're smelting. and there's quite a bit in there. So let me run the magnet over a couple more times, grab whatever steel I can get. You want to put it in a pan and make sure you pan it out to make sure you don't lose any gold, or gold doesn't get sucked up on a piece of steel or something. But usually you can get rid of all this junk, and it's stuff you just don't have to smelt down and deal with. All right, guys, we got her down to about 100 grams. So I'm going to do 75 grams of soda ash, 25 grams of borax, and about 20 grams of ammonium nitrate. And I'm going to add a chunk of steel rod in, and I'm going to put it in here in this crucible. We'll fire it up and pour it into our cone mold, and then we'll Cupel it. We got her all mixed up. There's our 3/4 of a ton or so, concentrated down to about 100 grams. And now we'll get it moved over here to our furnace. So put it right in there. Put the top on, and we'll start smelting her down. All right, guys, there's our little pour. It's cooled down some now. Knock it out of there. And there's our little button there in the bottom. I'm gonna let it cool down some more and then knock it off there. But man, that's pretty big. All right, guys, here's our little cone. It's really, really heavy. So that's a good sign. So I think there's quite a bit of gold in there. And so we got it in this little Cupel. We'll put it in our furnace, heat it up, melt it, start to oxidize those base metals. They'll be absorbed into the Cupel, and we'll be left with our precious metal button in the bottom. Okay, let's pull our Cupel out of here, see what we got. Cool. We'll get it cooled down, see what she looks like. Here's our little piece after it's been cooled down. And the finish on it isn't great, but it's what we got. So just shy of 16 grams. And I figured we're doing somewhere between 2/3 and 3/4 of a ton. And so what's that, about 20 grams a ton or so? So that's pretty good. That's definitely worth going back up there and getting some more of that stuff. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. And if you have any questions or comments about the equipment you saw today, give us a call or send us an email, and you can find our contact information in the description below. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.